Okay, guys, so I'll get started. So today's topic is S3. And as we have been doing, like whenever we start a new topic, we cover a very basic, okay? And to make things little interactive and interesting, today I'm going to cover multiple labs, okay? I'm sure everybody would have created their account in Amazon. So now you can start practicing things, okay? Yeah. So, as usual, our agenda would be a recap of whatever we have done in last four sessions. Okay, then we'll go about okay, what is S3, what is versioning. We'll do a lab because S3 helps you to upload your static content. Okay, so we'll do a lab on same. So I'll be referring to Amazon's document for the same topic. And then we'll talk about different storage classes which we have in S3 and relevance of each storage class, and then we'll talk about lifecycle management. So what exactly is lifecycle management? For example, let's talk about the log files. For example, you're using S3 to keep your log files, but after 30-40 days maybe you don't need a log file. Okay, it's of no relevance to you, but for storing that log file you were using. Oh, I see somebody has raised hand.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I am not able to see your screen. So I just wanted to check whether it's problem with my side or
uh
is
okay,
Bridges are
okay.
able to see Jyoti's screen.
uh, Okay, I see Amutan in call. Can he see my screen?
No, I cannot see your screen as well, Jyoti.
Okay, let me just stop
Try and
sharing.
share again, please.
Okay, okay. Okay, guys. Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes, now we can.
Okay, okay, okay. Yeah. So where was I? I was talking about life cycle management. So S3 provides different storage classes, like you have standard, infrequent access, glacier. So what is the purpose of those storage classes? Everything is like based on how frequently you want to access the data and cost. Okay, so for example, the log file which I was talking about, maybe you don't need a log file after 30-40 days. Okay, so what you can do is you can create a life cycle and you can say okay, after 40 days please delete this data, or you can create a life cycle saying that okay, after 30 days, instead of putting my data in a standard storage which is like costly storage option in S3, you can put it in deep glacier. Maybe now I don't need it data, maybe after 10 years or 15 years I might need that kind of a data. Okay, okay, sorry guys. Yeah, so let's just briefly recap our part four sessions which we have done. So in first session we talked about importance of cloud and some of the pillars of AWS, wherein we talked about operational excellence, security. Okay, and then in second and third session we'll be covered about identity and access management, which is a service which helps you to create users role and group by which you can either access a resources or a entity in AWS. Okay, and we did couple of lab, as in we saw that okay, how can you access resources from account A to account B? So we covered a use case. For example, your application, it has got two versions, a production version and a testing version. But while testing, you want to access anything which has been kept in a production account. So how can you do that? Okay. So now we'll move to the S3. So what is S3? S3 is simple storage service. So Amazon provides three kind of storage. One is your S3. Second is your EBS, which is Elastic Block Storage, which is like it saves your data in the form of blocks. S3 saves your data completely as an object. So you can add your media file, you can add your static content of your website, you can keep your JSON file, you can keep anything in your S3. Okay, then you have EFS, which is Elastic File System, which is another kind of storage which Amazon provides. It's for, you can say, maybe there are 2-3 instances, EC2 instances, which wants to share common things. So for that, you can use your EFS. So we'll cover EFS and EBS in detail in upcoming session. Sorry guys, I think I start one presentation. Okay, so what is simple storage service? So as I told you, it provides object storage, which is built for storing and recovering any amount of data from anywhere over the internet. So this internet is very important. So if you have kept anything on the S3, so you can access it over internet. Again, there are certain policies which you can apply. For example, do you want to make that storage public, or you want that okay, the person who is accessing that storage which you have saved in S3, there has to be a multi-factor authentication. So all those things you can do it. Second, when Amazon talks about their S3 services, they say with S3 we offer you durability of 99.11 times 9, which means suppose you've kept a million, so out of million data or objects which you have stored, chances of your data being corrupt, okay, is 1 in a million. So which is like very rare. It's very rare that your data which you have kept in S3 would get corrupt. Okay. Third is availability. So they say that with S3 you can quickly access your data. So how do they do this? So whenever you save anything in S3, they create 3 copies. So there are some storage clauses which keeps just 1 copy. Like we'll talk about one zone, so wherein there is just one availability zone where your data is stored. But in general, whether you're using standard or using deep glacier, any kind of a storage class, they are stored in at least 3 availability zones. So that makes your data more available. Okay, let's see this, like how many bucket you can create in account. So there are like 100 buckets you can create in account. So what is bucket? So bucket is simple, you can say a folder structure. Okay, so if you want to save anything in S3, so what you do create a bucket. So bucket is kind of a flat hierarchy, or you can say it's just a folder. So under that folder you create your objects. So those objects are referred by keys. Okay, and one more thing, you have to ensure that the bucket name which you create, they have to be unique. For example, Brijesh has created a bucket in his account named as TTC. So now Jyoti cannot create a same bucket name. Okay, but if Brijesh deletes that bucket from his account, after 3-4 hours, I can go ahead and I can have same account, bucket name. Okay, in my account as well. It's cost effective. So as I told you that if it is providing you 5-6 types of storage classes, and each has their cost associated with it. For example, S3 is pretty costly because then again, cost we talk about in terms of two things: storage and retrieval. So for example, in S3, this standard storage class, the cost is high, but retrieval cost is less. Okay, but when we talk about Glacier S3 Glacier, in that storage cost is less, but retrieval cost is more. Why? Because that storage class is used for storing data which you are going to use not that frequently, maybe after 5 years or 6 years. Okay, and since it takes a lot of time, it takes 1 to 12 hours to retrieve that data. So now the cost is on the retrieval, but not on the storage. Okay. Seventh is encryption of data at rest and in transition. Yeah, so S3 provides you option to encrypt your data. Okay, and the last point is, like I said, you have a bucket which is kind of a folder structure. Under bucket you add a object. So what exactly is the object? So object is your data plus your metadata about that data. Okay, so let's quickly create one bucket in our account, and let's try to add an object to it, and we'll go through all these storage classes which we talked about, encryption option. Okay, so let me guys, you see. Okay, so are you able to see the management console?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for coming. Okay, so as in one of our session, we had discussed, like if you want to access any service in Amazon, so how can you do it? There are 3 ways. One is like management console, second is your CLI, and third is your SDK or CDK. Okay, so now I'm going to access my S3 using our management console, which is a web interface. And then I'm going to cover one lab wherein we'll create the bucket using Amazon CLI. Okay, so S3. See, so you first option, what you see is bucket. So here also they have written buckets are containers for data stored in S3. Okay, let's go ahead and create a bucket. Okay, for example, if I keep same name which they are giving here, okay, maybe, oh sorry, what was the name? My AWS, my AWS, okay, region in which you want to create this bucket. For now, I'm blocking, like nobody can access this bucket which I've created. Yeah, let me just create. See, we are not able to create a bucket with this name. If you see my account, this bucket was not there in my account, right? But still I'm not able to create it because somebody else in Amazon has created a bucket with this name. Okay, so that's why I said that your bucket name has to be unique. Okay, so let's just do, okay, JLM1. Okay, for now, let's make it private only. Versioning will come to it, like what is versioning. Encryption for now I have disabled. Okay, so this is the bucket which has got created. Okay, now you have the bucket. Now let's add a object to this bucket. So how can you do that? Upload, add a file, any type of file you can say. For now I'm just storing a text file. Okay, this is upload. Yeah, so now this is the file which is available in your bucket. Okay, and if you want to understand, okay, what is the key, this is the file name, how can you access this object using this URL? So as I told you, you can access the objects which are stored in S3 using internet. So that's why you need HTTP or HTTPS. So let me just copy and see if I can access it or not. So see, I'm not able to access it. Why? Remember when we were creating bucket, I hadn't enabled that block for all public accesses. So by default, whatever object you create in your account, that is private. Okay, now let's make it public. Permissions. Sorry. Save changes. Yeah, to right. Now let me see if I can make this. No, I'm still not able to access it. That means I need to go ahead and make. Oh, it's not refreshing. Because this is off. Not bad. Yeah, sorry. So everyone has a public access to this object. Okay. Let's see if I can access it. See, I was able to access it. That's why the file got downloaded. Okay. Yeah. Now let's come to another topic, which is versioning. Okay. So what is versioning? Then we will see from here. For example, if I delete this file, okay. Let me write permanently delete. File has been deleted. So versioning helps you in two things. First, you can maintain the version, like, okay, when I created my file, for example, let's talk about attendee for this webinar. So when we started on day, there was so and so person. On day 2, there were 2 more. On day 3, there were 4. So you want to keep, you've created a file and you are updating it. Okay, so that way you are creating a version of your file. So in any day, if somebody wants to go and see who all were the attendee in our first session, so they can use the previous version and see the content. Okay, so one thing is that. Okay, second is, for example, you have deleted any file by mistake. Okay, and now you want to retrieve it. So if you would have enabled versioning, you can very easily retrieve your deleted file. So what Amazon does is, for all the current version which you have deleted, it adds a delete marker. I'll show you what is that delete marker. Okay, so using that delete marker, you can retrieve your original file. Okay, so let's just just go through the theory of versioning, and then we'll perform a lab on that as well. Okay, till now, any question? Like, what is S3? How do you create a bucket? How do you create an object? And how can you ensure that, okay, people can access your object or bucket publicly? So there are certain options which you need to enable. Yeah. So versioning in Amazon S3 is means of keeping multiple variant of an object in the same bucket. Versioning enabled bucket can help you recover object from accidental deletion or overwrite. Okay, so this is the 2 points which covered. Okay, so by default, when I created bucket, what was the version state of that bucket? It was unversioned. So the default option is unversioned. That means the ID would be null for that particular object. Okay, then after that, you can do two things. You can either enable the version or you can suspend the version, but you cannot disable the version you have created. Okay, so let's do a lab to see, okay, how do you keep a multiple variant of an object, and then we'll see, okay, what happens when you accidentally delete any object. Okay, and how can you retrieve it if you have turned on your versioning. Okay, so understand, like, whenever you've enabled versioning, it's like you are performing a put operation on your object. Okay, and it is saved in form of a LIFO. Okay, so whatever is the last update on that bucket or that object, when you are going to do a get operation, you are going to pick the latest one. Okay, so the last one is the one when you do a get, you will be able to retrieve. So that way you are always accessing the current version of the file which you have stored. Okay, but you are maintaining the previous versions as well using the ID. And if versioning is not enabled, what is the ID value of that object? It is null. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a lab on the versioning as well. Okay, so let me upload my file. Let's first see what is the content of this file for now. Okay, is my file? Yeah, this is the file. So I have written, this is my first file, added new content. This is the latest. Okay, this is the current content of this file, and I'm going to upload it. Okay. Before that, let's enable versioning. Okay, so okay, it would be in properties. Yeah, edit. So see, by default, your bucket version is disabled. So ultimately, what do you mean by disabled? It's unversioned. Okay, so I'm going to enable the versioning. Okay, so it is saying same thing. Okay, after enabling bucket versioning, you might need to update your lifecycle. Okay, lifecycle rule we have not created, so for now this is enabled. And same thing which I have kept in the presentation, it's written here also. Okay. So one thing I really liked about Amazon is their documentation and the help text which they provide. Okay, so which is like very self-explanatory. You don't need to refer any other resource if you go through their documentation. They have lots of good practical labs as well. So I've enabled. Okay, now let's go ahead and upload one object in this bucket. Let's just add this file. Let's start the public access here only. Now if I go here, now if I do show version, do you see this toggle? Yeah, you see a version ID. Okay. So let me go ahead and delete this. Okay, suppose somebody else logged into my system and they went ahead and deleted this. Okay. Says yes, I'm writing permanently deleted. Okay, now can you see the object here? No, right? So now how can I enable this? How can I get my file back? Okay. Missing the option where it is. It has to be objects. Sorry guys, I'm missing that option. Let me just look for it. Okay.
I think when you enabled right now, right, it showed that you need to configure lifecycle rules. So is it because of that?
No, it's not because of that. I'm just looking for an option. It shows you the delete mark. Maybe I'm missing it. Give me a second. Okay, I'll come to it later. Maybe I'm not able to recall, or let me upload 2 files here and see. Give me a second. In fact, okay, this could be a troubleshooting session for us. Okay, let's upload. Let's see where is that option. Okay, meanwhile, let's study about these storage classes. Maybe I'll be able to recall after this. Okay, so I was telling you that Amazon provides you various storage classes. So you are charged for 3 things, in fact, not 2 things. First is like, okay, the cost, there would be a cost of storage. Second would be the retrieval cost. And third, since we were talking about life cycle management in our introductory page. So life cycle management is like when you want to move your object from one storage class to another. So that time also you are charged some amount. Okay. So see, there are how many storage. This is like, it's not used anymore. They have given this option because there are still people using this. Instead of this, they have introduced this Glacier Deep Archive. Okay. So let's study about each one by one. So standard, as it says, it's your frequently access data. So use the storage class when you want to frequently access your data. There is something you are accessing it daily. So you are going to choose for a standard. Okay. Then I'll come to this intelligent peering a little later. Then there is standard infrequent access. So as the name suggests, you'll store the data in this storage class when you want to access something infrequently. Okay. You're not accessing something daily. Third is one zone IA. So if you see here, the number of availability zone are greater than equal to 3. In standard 1A also, you see it's greater than 3. But in one zone, it's very similar to standard infrequent access. But the only difference is the number of availability zone, which you get to see. Okay, it's 1. So where can you use these kind of a storage class? So it's like whenever you want to, you have some data in your on-premise system and you want to create a backup of it. Okay, so that if it gets deleted also from the cloud, you always have your backup in on-premises, or something. If something gets deleted from on-prem, you have backup in your S3. Okay, so the only difference is now there won't be 3 copies of data which would be stored. It would be just 1 copy of the data which you have uploaded would be stored. Okay, Glacier and Glacier Deep Archive. So Glacier is like, for example, you are going to access something in years. Okay, So that time, which storage class you can use? Glaciers. So in this, you choose like, okay, when you are going to retrieve the data from this particular storage classes, what would be my range? Are you going to retrieve it in minutes or hours? Okay, so you can specify and you'll be cost accordingly. Then comes this Glacier Deep Archival. So this is for storing very kind of like music. Suppose there or a cricket match. So you are maintaining a history of the cricket matches, and there is some match which happened in 1987 or 1982. You know that after, there might be a user who want to access that history, might be that user want to see the match, okay, but you're okay that okay the retrieval time is like 12 hours. So here you have to compromise with the retrieval time. You won't be able to access it very quickly. It would take at least 12 hours. Okay. So we have uploaded a file, okay, which is like object in the bucket. And for now, I am keeping the storage class as standard. Okay, you can see more option about this. Minimum storage duration. Okay, so here it's like if you have created a lifecycle management rule. So you can say, okay, yeah, I missed the intelligent tiering. Now let's talk about this intelligent tiering. So this is something between two storage classes. For example, right now I'm giving a demo and I don't know whatever I'm going to create, will it be used frequently? Okay. Or so whatever the webinars we have done so far, we have done the recording and we have placed in S3. But I'm not sure, like maybe today nobody is going to access my webinar. Okay. They don't see any relevance. But there could be a chance, okay, after 5-6 months or years, somebody wants to go through a basic of AWS, then they might come to know about this webinar and then they want to access it. So for now, if I decide to upload my data on S3, I'm not sure whether they're going, whether somebody is going to frequently access my recording or there would be some infrequent access. So that job is done by intelligent tiering. Okay, so you select the intelligent tiering as a storage class. Now it would decide based on the access of the data whether it needs to be put in a storage standard storage class or some other class which you have mentioned, standard, infrequent access, one zone, Glacier, based on the retrieval pattern of that object. Okay. So I've covered 2-3 topics. Let's just quickly revise so that so till now we covered 3 topics. First is like basics of S3, which is like to store any data in S3, you need to create a bucket. Your bucket name has to be unique. Then in the bucket, you create an object. So this is what we understood about S3, object creation or bucket creation, and how do you access those objects in S3 which you have stored using internet. Okay. Then second, we talked about versioning, which is like if you want to maintain various variant of the object which you are storing. And second advantage, it provides you like if you delete your data accidentally, you can retrieve it. And third, while working on the versioning, we discussed about various storage classes, and we talked about okay, what each storage class mean and how you are charged and how you can access your data. What is the retrieval type? Okay, so Glacier Deep Archive is for long-term data review. For example, history of a cricket match or some songs which have been sung in 1920s or 1930. You are maintaining all those songs. Okay, and so you'll use Glacier Deep Archival. Then we talked about Glacier. It is also similar to like long-term data archival, but here the retrieval time is from minutes to hours. Here it is by default, it would take 12 hours for you. Okay. And then one zone, it's like if you want to create a backup. So that time, what kind of storage class you can use? You can use one zone. Okay. Standard infrequent access, as the name suggests, wherein data is accessed, but it's infrequent, like once in a month, twice in a month. Okay. Then standard is the normal, which is like frequently accessed data. And there was a interesting storage class, which is intelligent tiering. This we use it when you're not sure what is my access pattern. So if you select storage type as intelligent tiering for any object, so now based on its retrieval, it would be stored either in standard. If it's like frequent, it would go into standard. But if it's like okay, it is used once in 1 month, it would go to infrequent access. Okay. I hope this time I'm able to see the versioning part. let's upload another. Let's upload another file with the same name, but let's update its content maybe after that. Permission. So this class is standard. Okay. I haven't given any tag and I haven't added any information about this data. So as I told you, object is your data plus metadata. Okay. So let's go to the bucket. Show versions. So you see here two versions. Okay. This is something which is uploaded at this time. Okay. Now let me go ahead and delete this. Okay, I'm just trying the retrieval of deleted data once more. Let's see if we are able to do it this time. Okay, before that, let's see what is the content of this file. Okay, this is showing me the latest content which I had added. Yeah, see, this is my latest file. Okay, so let me go ahead and delete this. Oh, here it was the version part which I was telling you. Okay, see, this is the current version. Okay, let me go ahead and delete this. Okay, actually, I think from here I can delete it. Okay, so this is the file which I have deleted. Okay, so there's nothing here. Okay, now there in the version. Okay, meanwhile we are here on the space. Just keep mind of this option, static website hosting. So this we are going to use in our next lab, wherein we are going to use S3 for storing static content. So if you want to store any, use this S3 for storing any static content, you need to enable this. So in that lab, we are going to enable. Sorry guys, did any of you see where that option was? Because I'm missing it again and again. Why can't I see the version? Okay. Oh, shit. I was okay, guys. So see, you see three versions here. Okay. So whenever you delete, what happens is for the current version, it creates another version with this delete marker. Okay. So let me just show it to you for now. Let's go again here and see. Is there anything in this bucket? No, there's nothing in this bucket. Okay. Now let me go here. Select this. Now, if I delete it from here, this would move back to my original location. So it's simple, like when you're deleting your file from your system, what happens? It goes by default to a recycle bin. Okay. Now, when you do from recycle bin, you do a delete or restore, it comes back again to a location from it where it was deleted. Okay. So now if I delete this from here, it would go to its original location. Okay. Yeah, right. Permanently delete. Okay. Now, if I go here, even if I disable this, I can see my file. Okay, guys. So let's quickly revise because here I just moved up. Okay, so if you want to ensure that you are able to keep multiple variant of your file, and you also want to ensure that, okay, nobody's, if somebody deletes your data accidentally, you are able to retrieve that data. So what do? At the bucket level, you enable the versioning. Okay, so once you enable the versioning, you will see that, okay, all the files which you are uploading, it gets a ID, okay, unique ID. Now you go ahead and deleted the file from your system. Okay, so now if you enable this show, if you open this toggle, you'll see a file here with type as delete marker. That means that is your current file which was deleted. Now from here, if you click on that file and in the actions you go ahead and perform delete or click delete from here, what happens? You are able to restore your deleted file. Okay. Okay, guys, I'll just pause for questions, and then we'll move to next topic. Okay, Brijesh, they are in sense, but exact value I don't remember. So I know that the standard one, they are the costliest, but as you go down, like from standard to deep glacier, your cost of storage reduces, but retrieval cost increases. But exact amount, I don't know if you are asking for that. Guys, so far, how was the speed? I hope I didn't make you confused.
No, no, it
Should
was
we?
clear.
Okay, it was clear. So let's move to the next topic then. Okay. Yeah. So storage we covered. Yeah. So here. So same way it's saying, okay, your standard, and you see this line. It says as you go here, your excess of data is infrequent. So the frequently accessed is your S3 standard, but least frequently accessed is your infrequent. So understand how Amazon is asking you to pay. So it's like, okay, you want to store something which you don't want to use it very frequently. Okay, it was like rare in 10 years. Okay. Okay, so for that, I won't cost you a storage charge. Or if I'll take some money for the storage, it would be very minimum. But now how I'm going to charge you, I'll charge you on the retrieval. So here the retrieval takes 12 hours, right? So that is now costly. Retrieval is costly. Okay. Now let's do this lab, which is build a static website using S3. Okay, so I'm going to use this documentation, which is there in Amazon itself. Okay, so let me show what this is all about. So there is this application. Okay, what is the name of Mystic something? I don't know. So the concept of this web application is like, if you want to attain any avatar, so you can pick. Okay, you want to become this character. Let me just show it to you. Or when we upload it, that time I'll show you. Okay, here. So as you know, any website, it has got two things, something which is static, okay, and then there is a dynamic content on that website. So today using S3, we are going to access the static content of the website or store the static content, okay. Yeah, so this is the site. Okay. Yeah. So it's like, welcome to our, you can adopt any, yeah, profile. Okay. So now this would have something static and something dynamic. So I'll go ahead and access, I'm going to store the static content of this website and try to access this using S3. Okay. So we'll follow the steps which is mentioned in the document. Okay. And let me share it for you guys in the chat so that you can try as well. Yeah. So let's go. So first thing what we need to set up is IDE. So as I told you that Amazon has a service which is AWS Cloud9, which is kind of IDE. Okay, so let's go ahead and select. Okay, so we'll follow step by step. Right now, if you see, there's just one bucket which is JLM1. Okay, now I'll go ahead. I'll pick a region. Okay. Let's go step by step. It says create a environment. I've done the first part, which was log into AWS. I've done this. I've logged into my management console. I've selected a region as North Virginia. Okay. And then I am going to step 2, which is creating your mythical MyShift ID. Okay. And what service we are using? It's Cloud9. Okay. So what name we have to give is this. Okay. Next step. Is it saying, do I need anything? Leave the default, next. Okay. Create environment. Okay. So by default, what kind of platform would be enabled in this ID? Linux 2. And what would be my instance type? T2 micro. Okay. Next step. It takes a few minutes. So meanwhile, I can take any questions if we have. See, for now, we are using their ID, but we can do same thing from our ID, like if you pick any ID in your system. And then from your system, you can connect to S3 or your Amazon using CLI. So we'll cover that as well. For now, to make this exercise little simple, we're using the ID, which has been provided by AWS service. It would have all the default settings. So it would have CLI enabled, plus it would have your, what do you say, all the prerequisite machine, everything would be set up for you. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we are here. Okay. Now what is my next step? It says go ahead and clone this repo. So what is this repo? It contains all your static content for this website. Okay. Yeah, after cloning the repository, you will see that your Project Explorer now includes the file clone. Okay, now we went to this location. Come now, let's move to the last part. Okay, now using CLI, Amazon CLI, I am going to create a bucket. Okay, so there were 2 ways to create a bucket. I told you one was like from the web console itself, which I created. Like we went step by step. Now, if you want to do it through CLI, so let's first decide the name. Okay, so I'll take the name which they have given somewhere. Oh, okay, let me make it PPC then. Okay, so what this says, this MB is like make bucket. Okay, so we are going to create a bucket in our AWS account. Let's decide on the name. I have given some name, we'll pick that now. It needs to be unique. So I'll keep something like let's do JL. And for ease of use, I'll put it in the chat. Let's go ahead. Okay, for now, see, there's this just one bucket in my account. JLM1. Okay. Now I'm going to create another bucket using. Okay. So make bucket mythical misfits bucket JLM. So if you go here, just refresh this. You see here another bucket. Okay. Now let's move to the next step. What does the next step says? Yeah. Now that we have created a bucket, we need to set some configuration option that enables the bucket to be used for static website hosting. So I told you when we were uploading an object, I showed you one option, right? So by default, it is disabled. But if you enable it, that means you're telling that now I'm using this S3 bucket for hosting my static website. Okay. So I hope this is correct. Step by step. Yeah, so we have enabled the option. Let's go ahead and see. Okay. There should be options somewhere downstairs. See, this has been enabled. Okay. Static website hosting is enabled. Okay. Now, what is the next thing? Update the S3 bucket policy. Okay. So, they've given this command and they have created a policy in one location. But when I was trying this, there was some issue in the policy. So we need to update this policy. But for now, okay, let me just show you the command. So to extend this, to go here, there is a button down. WCLM. See, you see this policy. Okay. The policy they have created, which says that you're allowing public read for this bucket. Okay. But when I was working on this, I found the policy structure has changed. So let's go ahead and generate our own policy and we'll replace it. For now, I'm in the chat, I'm just adding the command, which I'll copy later. Okay. So what this policy says is public read for get bucket object. Allow, we want to allow all the objects. Remember when we were studying about IAM. Okay, so we talked about principal. So what is principal? It's like doer who want to perform the action. So it could be user or entity. Okay, action, what we are trying to perform is get object and resource is your ARN. So every Amazon resource has a unique number. Okay, we call it Amazon resource name or number. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this policy. So how do you create the policy? Okay. Okay. Let's see the policy option somewhere. Permissions. Okay, so we'll create our own policy. Okay. Let's use a policy generator. For what we are going to do, S3 bucket, allow. Okay, I'm going to allow everyone. Okay, object, what we had done is, what was the name of the object? It was get object. Okay, so let's look for get object. Yes. This. Amazon resource name. Okay, Amazon resource name. What was the name of my resource? This. That's okay. This is okay. So I can copy it from here. I can paste it here, and we need to replace it by /star because the policies which we create, they are not applied on a single entity. Okay. Where is my command? So till now, I'm just doing basic settings. So like first, what I have done is I've created a bucket, okay, using a MB command, okay. Then what I did is I enabled that setting which says that, okay, I want to use this S3 bucket for hosting my static website. So for that, you need to enable an option. So in UI, you saw option, same thing I was doing via CLI, okay. And third thing is I'm giving a permission to a user that any user can access this object. Okay. So for that, I'm leveraging a policy, bucket policy. Okay. And why did I had to generate my policy? Because when I was practicing this particular demo, I found that the structure of the policy is incorrect. So that's why it was giving me error. Oh, still it's saying it's invalid. What is it that I'm missing? What is it that I'm missing? Okay. Okay, thank you, Anupam. No, there's something else which is wrong. Yeah, it's done. Okay, thank you, Amita. Yeah. So till where we have done, okay. So so this is like add a public bucket policy to your website. Okay, so now this bucket is public. Okay, now publish the website content to S3. So whatever my content is there, it's currently there in my IDE, right? I need to upload it in the S3. So it's like simple copy command which we are doing. From here, we are copying our content to our S3. Okay. Yep. Again, let me just paste it here to make it easy for me. Quickly. Yeah. Okay. Now let's go ahead and open our bucket to see what all has been uploaded. See, it's public, publicly accessible. Okay. Meanwhile, what was the next option? Okay. Now, if I want to access my site, what I need to do is this. This is the URL, which is HTTP, replace my bucket name. Okay, Faiz, okay. Bucket name, then replace your region. So I had done all this thing in North Virginia. So I need to select US East 1, okay. So let's go ahead and see if we are able to access this bucket. And my region would be US East 1. I don't need to do this also. I can directly get the URL from the console, but okay. See, we are able to access this website. Yeah. Okay. So let's revise what we just did. So we have used S3 to access the website, which has just static content. So what were the steps which we had to do? Simple, create a bucket, enable static website option. Okay. And after that, I had to copy all the content from my ID to S3. Okay. And that's it. Job done. We were able to access our website. We were able to store it. So today we are just covering about the static part of the website. Going forward, we'll cover, okay, how can you enable the dynamic part? Okay. So various services you need to use, how you store data, etc. We'll cover in upcoming section. But this lab was just to tell you about another uses of S3, which is storing a static content for your website. Okay. Okay. So guys, is it clear till now? I'm left with one more topic. If you would give me a go ahead, I'll cover that. If not, I'm willing to stop the session because we've covered a lot of things today. So Amuthan and Faz, should I cover the last topic, which was life cycle management?
I am fine with it. Let's wait what Amut. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Please go.
Okay. Yeah. So last simple topic, which is life cycle management. That working part I won't be able to showcase, but I'll tell you how do you create the life cycles. Okay, and life cycle or bucket policy or versioning, all these are done at the bucket level. Okay. So let's study about the theory. Okay. So lifecycle management, Amazon S3 lifecycle allows to configure a lifecycle for stored object on S3 to optimize the cost. As I told you, if you know that, okay, after 30 days, I'm not going to use something. So why store it in standard? Let's go ahead and put it in some other storage class, which costs you a little less. Okay. A lifecycle configuration is a set of rules that define actions applied to a group of objects. Okay, there are two kind of life cycles. Transition action, so which is like it allows to transit the object from one storage class to another, and second is expiration action, which is like which allows you to delete the object. So where are you going to use this? The example which I told you about the log file. Okay, so you know after 30 days nobody is going to access the log file which was created 30 days before. Okay, so you can set a life cycle which says that after 30 days just delete this kind of object. Okay, or for example you can say that, okay, if there is some partial upload, maybe the exercise which I was doing for the static content, okay, there was some part which was partially uploaded because of internet issue. So again you can apply, okay, although all such data, let's delete it after 7 days. And why do we want to delete everything, or why do we want to move objects from one storage class to another? Remember, cost is the reason. Okay, you know that something which is very old, you're not going to use it. Okay, let's not keep it in another storage class, let's go ahead and delete it. Yeah. So I read about these examples. So the log one which I showed, okay, application server database logs stored in S3, but logs may not be required after a few weeks or months. So you can go for the expiration life cycle, which would delete such kind of object. Then there was this example wherein, yes, you are going to access the object, but their frequency starts reducing. For example, frequency of access requirement of an organization document, financial, employee data. Like some documents are frequently accessed, but after a few days, maybe when you join, everybody would be asking about your offer letter, joining letter, this, that. They'll keep it somewhere. Okay. But after 20 days or 30 days, now they are not accessing your record. There's some another new employee who has come and they are more focused on retrieving his data for various departments. So now from S3, you'll move it to S3 standard infrequent access. So you tell, okay, after 30 days, move this object, which is there in the standard, to infrequent access. Now, after 60 days from this, move it to S3 Glacier. Now, if it's 465 days, it's a very old data. I don't want to use it. Go ahead and delete it. So I'm able to understand the transitioning which we are doing with respect to life cycle. One is moving from one storage class to another, because that would save some money for you. And second is, okay, if something is there which you are not going to use it, let's go ahead and delete it. Okay. So I'll just show you how to create these life cycles. And again, guys, for all this, you are going to be charged. So once you're done with your practice, go ahead and delete it. Like after this session, I'll delete all these buckets and files which I have created. Okay. Let's take this only, JLM1, which I have created. So from where you can create the life cycle, from the management option. Okay. Now you can do a create life cycle. See, before creating also, if you see the default, you get the name of the life cycle group, status, scope, current version action. So for example, you've enabled versioning. Okay. So for current version, you are saying, okay, move it from standard to so and so of the storage class. But with the previous version, instead of moving from one storage class to another, you can permanently delete it. Okay. So you can apply these rules as well. Okay. Marker. Okay. If you want to give a special marker, incomplete multi-part upload, which I was telling you. So what is this multi-part upload? Let me just give you a brief about it. So ideally, we say that in case of Elastic Block Storage, which is another storage service, you can say for AWS. So there your data is stored in the form of blocks. For example, you're storing something. So block A would have address of block B, and then B would have the address of C. So this is how you divide your object into blocks and you store it. Okay. But in case of S3, it is said that yes, you store your data completely. So you're storing an object. Okay. So there's this option of multi-part upload. What is that? It says that if you've got suppose a 50 GB size of an object. Okay. So uploading a 50 GB of an object can take a lot of time. So what with multi-part upload, what happens is you divide that 50 GB. Again, this is just the hypothetical number. I am not sure about like how that division happens. Just giving an example. So that 50 GB file is broken into 10 GB 5 files. Okay. And parallelly they are uploaded. So ultimately, once they are uploaded, they are being shown as one object. But while uploading, what we did, we divided that 50 GB into a block of 10 GB. Okay. So suppose when you were doing that multi-part upload and something was uploaded incomplete. Okay. So if you want to delete certain these kind of objects, you can enable it in your lifecycle room, which you have created. Okay. Let me just go through my notes in case I've missed anything. Yeah. So this I told you guys, okay, bucket name has to be unique. And then there is like the maximum character which you can have for your bucket name is 3 to 63. Okay. And then S3 offers you various sub resources, which is like it gives you life cycle option, which we'll create just in next few minutes. Website, you can use S3 for storing your static content. Then versioning, like by default, you have unversioned objects, but you can enable it. This would help you in retrieving accidentally deleted data, or you can create various variants. Okay. And then there's access control list. For now, understand access control list is like you're giving a policy on your bucket, whether it is going to be like public, okay, or you're allowing only specific source IP to access those bucket. You can do all those things. Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah. In an upcoming session, we'll cover about cross-region replication, etc. But for now, let's create a life cycle. So life cycle rule name is not required to be unique across Amazon, but yes, across your account, it has to be unique. So let me just give you my rule, TTC. Choose a role scope. So I'm applying this for all the object. But for example, when you were creating or uploading an object, so there was this option of tag. Okay. So for example, in a bucket, you are storing 10 objects, and to 5 object, you give a tag as test. Okay. So now you can apply all these lifecycle rules to those objects which have a specific tag. Okay. Now I'm not using that option. Doing okay. This is, I'm going to apply it for all the objects in the bucket. Okay. I acknowledge. Now, this is the rule action. Transition current version of object between storage class. Yes. Transition previous. If I select this option, now what I can do, I can say that all my current version needs to be moved to standard. Right now, for example, the storage class is standard. Now I want to transition them to standard infrequent access. After how many days? 30 days. Okay. Then you can say, okay, move to intelligent tiering after 60 days. Then you can say, okay, now it's deep glacier. If for 120 days, if it is not accepted, move it to a glacier deep archival. Okay. Now, transition previous version of object between storage. What do you want to do with your previous version? Okay. You can select that. Expire current. I'll show you the options. Let me select all of them. So what I'm saying is delete the expire, delete marker, or incomplete multi-part upload. For example, I have deleted something. Okay. And that was not accidental. I purposely have deleted something. So you'll see a delete marker. Okay. So it is saying all those objects which has this delete marker, you can delete it also permanently after a specific days. Okay. So all those things. This is for transitioning non-current version, which is like a previous version. What do you want to do? For current version, I'm going to do this kind of transition. But for previous, I'm just going to move it to deep glacier. Okay. Number of days after object. So expire current version of object. Okay. Some random. Permanently delete previous version of object. How many days? I'm just giving a hypothetical number. Just don't go by it. You can create based on your requirement. Okay. Delete incomplete multi-part after 7 days. So this is it. Oh, mostly. Oh, see, for deletion also there is a limit. So let me do. This is interesting. So it won't let you delete after a specific time. Okay, so in this bucket, I have added this lifecycle rule. So now whenever I'll add an object, based on this rule, the object would be transitioned to a next storage class or deleted based on the number of days I have provided. So this is it for today's session. We'll just quickly go through the agenda to see that we've covered everything. Okay, so we just recap of whatever we did in our previous 4 parts. Then we studied about S3. This we covered. We created bucket. We uploaded object. Then we read about versioning. We tried deleting an object and retrieving it. After enabling the versioning, then we did a lab on how to upload the static content. For that, we followed the step which was given by Amazon itself. And we saw it's a very simple step. It's like to create a bucket, you enable an option to upload a static content, then you copy the file from your local machine to your Amazon. So all this I'm able to do it through Amazon CLI, which I didn't set up. It was already set up in AWS Cloud 9 ID. But going forward, we'll do that also. Like how can we access your Amazon services from your local machine, okay, from your terminal. Yeah. Then we studied about different storage classes, and we understood, okay, what is the purpose of each class, how they charge you. So there is a concept of storing, sorry guys, storage cost plus retrieval cost, and then transitioning from one storage class to another storage class. And we studied about a very interesting storage class which was intelligent tiering. So it's like, when I'm not sure what is my access pattern, I'll choose intelligent tiering. Now Amazon will decide based on the access pattern where it needs to put, whether it needs to put my object in standard storage or a deep leisure or any other option which I select. And then we studied about life cycle management. So again, life cycle management helps you to save cost by deleting some objects which have not been used from certain duration, or moving your current object from one storage to another based on their access pattern. Okay, guys, so this is it. Any questions?
Nothing from my side. Amut, do you have? Okay, yeah. Thank you, Amut. I think no question from him as well, as per his response. So I think we are good to close this call. Thank you, Amutan, for joining, and thank you, Jyoti, for teaching in detail how we can, from basics, how we can, what is S3 and what are the versioning and all different things related to S3. And that static website was a good example, I can say, which one can practice for sure.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, in next session we'll cover more lab on S3, and then we'll close this topic. Oh, thank you, Amutan.
Okay, yeah,
I'm happy.
Thank you. Yeah. It's good to know that. Yeah, even I also know what can I say, I know little bit about S3, but I also, I was not having this much knowledge, but after you taught, I was able to understand different things, different storage classes and all those things. Yeah, so it was yeah,
Okay,
yeah, that's true. One of yeah. Unfortunately, it's true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so I am okay. So it was good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great day.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.